Welcome back, chess fans! Today, we are diving into the archives to witness the birth of a legend. It is 1953, the USSR Junior Team Championship. A young, relatively unknown Mikhail Tal unleashes absolute sacrificial fury against Isaak Birbrager, showing early flashes of the terrifying attacking genius that would eventually make him world champion. Pawn to d4. We kick things off with d4, claiming space in the center. Knight to f6. Tal begins with the flexible knight to f6. Pawn to c4. White expands on the queen side. Pawn to c5. The modern Benoni. The computer prefers solidifying with e6, but Tal intentionally steers the game into sharp, imbalanced waters. White pushes the pawn past, clamping down on the center. Pawn to e6. Tal immediately challenges the central bind. For the next several moves, both players navigate the classical setup of the modern Benoni. White solidifies his central space advantage, while Black fianchettos the dark-squared bishop to create long-term dynamic counterplay. Both sides castles. Knight to a6. An unusual and provocative knight maneuver.
Hold on. Why can't White just take that and double Black's pawns?
They could, but if White plays bishop takes a6, Black gets the bishop pair, an open b-file, and total control over the b5 square. Knight to d2. Birbrager ignores it, freeing up his f-pawn and preparing to reroute his knight to the queen side to clamp down on c4. Knight to b4. Tal's knight leaps forward anyway, aggressively harassing the d3 bishop. The bishop retreats safely. Rook to e8. Tal brings his rook to the semi-open file, eyeing the e4 pawn. Pawn to a3. White kicks the annoying knight. The knight returns to the edge of the board. Rook to e1. White overprotects his center. Ah, the point of the maneuver. The knight reroutes to c7, preparing to support a b5 pawn break. Queen to c2. White develops the queen, eyeing the queen side as well. Rook to b8. Tal places his rook perfectly, getting ready to launch the b-pawn. Pawn to a4. White clamps down hard, stopping the b5 push in its tracks. Pawn to b6. Tal adapts, quietly solidifying his queenside structure. Knight to b5. White jumps in, trying to force a trade and relieve some of the tension. Tal refuses to initiate the capture. He kicks the knight instead, forcing White to make the decision. White obliges and takes the knight. And by recapturing, Tal brilliantly develops his queen to a perfect square. Rook to a2. A very strange, clunky move.
Why is he lifting the rook to a2?
He wants to protect the second rank, but this completely disconnects his rooks. Moving to b1 would have been much more harmonious. Queen to e7. Tal improves the queen, shifting his gaze toward the king side. Pawn to f3. Oh no! A terrible positional mistake from White. Knight to h5. Tal pounces instantly. By playing f3, White permanently blocked his own bishop and weakened the light squares around his king. Tal immediately swings his knight toward the massive hole on f4. Knight to f1. White scrambles to cover the kingside weaknesses. Pawn to f5. When in doubt, break the center. Tal blasts open the position to unleash his light-squared bishop. Bishop to d3. White desperately tries to maintain his central structure. Pawn to f4. A textbook attacking wedge! This is a crucial concept. By pushing the pawn to f4, Tal physically blocks white's f3 pawn, guaranteeing that white can never play g3 to kick away an attacking piece. Pawn to g4! White completely panics and tries to force g4 anyway. Bishop to d4 check! A painful check! The dark squares belong completely to Tal.
The king steps into the lonely corner.
Queen to h4. The queen joins the fray. Tal is bringing all his forces into the attack, directly threatening the rook on e1. Rook to e2, dodging the queen's threat. Queen to h3. The queen steps deeper into the heart of white's camp, attacking the knight on f1 and the pawn on f3. The computer suggests this wild forcing line. Knight to g3, check. White takes the knight. Black recaptures. Rook to g2. White holds the back rank. Here we see that moving the rook to a2 earlier was truly a mistake. The back rank is completely weak and that rook is out of play. Bishop takes g4. Black sacrifices the bishop. White accepts. Rook to f8. And the rook joins the party with overwhelming pressure. Let's return to the human, psychological move Tal chose. Rook to g2. White defends the back rank with the rook. Queen takes f3. Tal simply gobbles up a crucial pawn. The white king is completely exposed. Knight to d2. White attacks the queen. He is desperately hoping to bail out of this nightmare with a repetition. Queen to e3. The queen slides safely to e3, staying active. Knight to f1. White repeats the attack. Tal steps back to f3. Knight to d2. White insists on the repetition. White thinks he has secured a draw by chasing the queen. Can you find Tal's legendary, mind-bending sacrifice that blows this game wide open? Bishop takes g4! Boom! Are you kidding me? A spectacular long-term queen sacrifice! Tal gives up his strongest piece for a knight, creating a paralyzing pin. Knight takes f3. White has no choice but to accept the gift. Bishop takes f3. The dust settles. Black gave up his queen for a knight. But look at the board. Pawn to h4. White pushes the h-pawn, desperately trying to pry open an escape route for his king. Rook to f8. Tal quietly and efficiently brings his rook into the attack, preparing to hammer the f-file. Bishop to e2! A tragic, fatal blunder under unimaginable pressure! White tries to break the deadly pin, but he walks right into a tactical wood chipper! Knight to g3 check! The knight jumps in with a vicious check. The king is forced to step to h2. Tal chops off the paralyzed rook. White recaptures the bishop. The other bishop falls! White recaptures the knight with his queen. If white avoids the capture, black wins even more material anyway. White is left entirely helpless as black's extra pawns march down the flank to easily seal the game. Pawn to f3 check! Fork! The f-pawn pushes forward with check, skewering the king and the queen. The material is coming right back.
White has to give the queen back.
Tal takes the queen, simplifying the position into a completely one endgame.
White takes the rook. Rook to f8, check. But Tal doesn't let up for a second. He grabs the open file with tempo. King to g3. The king steps up to g3. Bishop to e5, check. The bishop delivers a stinging check. The king retreats.
Bishop to f4. Tal forces a bishop trade.
Birbrager resigned here, realizing the endgame is completely hopeless. The trapped rook on a2 seals White's fate.
Tal's queen sacrifice was not about instant gratification. It was about creating a masterpiece of paralysis. That poor rook on a2 never even joined the game. Thank you for watching. And as always, keep calculating.